Hello and welcome to the Catholic Passage Podcast. My name is Aaron Lorch and I'm today's host. This podcast aims to pursue the truth, an authentic Catholic life, a deep integration of faith and reason, and a joyful community of families raising the next generation of the Catholic faithful. Today's guest is Laura K. Beck, who is a Christian writer and content creator based here in Northwest Iowa. She's deeply passionate about bringing others closer to God and works to do this through sharing her personal stories and reflections, poetry and other writing, and biblically inspired videos. I'm really excited to share our conversation through this episode, where Laura and I discuss quite a range of topics, including her background and development as a writer, the balance between an online presence in our personal lives, evangelism in our modern world, and of course, so much more. We hope you enjoy our conversation and that it might bless you in some way. All right, here we go. Laura Beck, thanks so much for joining me on the Catholic Passage Podcast.
Great to be here.
Yeah. And so I'm so thankful to sit down and have this in person. We got technology issues, of course, but we're working through them. We're going to have the listeners and we're also going to have the viewers with video podcasting. For them, can you start off with a little bit about your background, who you are, family, that sort of nature?
Sure. So I am born and raised near Estherville. My parents still live in Estherville and over here at the lakes. I have a brother and a sister. One lives in Estherville as well. My sister lives in Estherville, is a chiropractor there, and my brother is in Colorado. He's the only one that flew the nest, so to speak.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're all around here.
Otherwise, we're all around here. Yeah.
Cool.
Raised as a cradle Catholic, so grew up in the church. I met my husband when I was in high school, so we're high school sweethearts. We waited until after college to get married, and then we are raising our kids here. My oldest son is 24, and he works for our family business, Beck Excavating.
Yep.
And our youngest son is 20, and he goes to Dordt University and plays football and studies engineering.
Yeah, and he's a great young man. My wife and I got to meet him for the first time just recently when we were at that young adults gathering speaker event where Father Brian Feller actually was speaking, and that actually is how I got the connection here to look into having you as a guest, actually. So, kind of the cool how that worked out.
Yeah, I love that they're doing some of those young adults events and stuff to be able to get people to meet each other.
Yes, it's so important to have this. I mean, because you can have things like this podcasts where you can tie into your faith. You have stuff like, well, your own writing, your own blog, your own podcast that you have that we'll talk about, Hallow, things like that. But those are all like things that we take in as individuals, right? I mean, whether you're running or driving, you can listen into those, and those are important. You can have self-prayer, but I think it's so strong to have that sense of community too. And sometimes when we have these two parishes right where we live, St. Joseph and St. Mary, I could, because that's my home parish as well, my whole life, I could go till I'm 85 and just go to that one church and never meet some of the wonderful people that go to this other parish only 20 minutes away.
Right.
So I think it's important that we're bringing kind of the Lakes Catholic community together in some of these ways for the young adults, but they're also looking to do different events for all age groups, depending on, what will fit best, I think. So
yeah, that'll be great, because I think that there is, like you said, I might see somebody at our church that, oh, there's a new face. Oh, no, they just came from Milford because they couldn't make it to Mass at a certain time or whatever. So just even seeing new faces and like meeting new people, especially when they're that close, like some of your very best friends could be just, 15 minutes away and you just don't know them yet.
Just don't even know them. Yeah. And why not meet them at church? It's
right.
just, it might be the next neighboring parish is all.
Right.
Yeah. So that's cool. So yeah, pivoting back to why I wanted to have you on, do you want to talk a little bit about, so you're talking about your background and you went to college. Did you always want to be a writer then, or were you going to be a doctor or a teacher, or what were you going to do?
I bounced all over the place, to be honest. Like when I went off to college, I had always loved writing ever since I was a little kid. But I just honestly, when I got to college, didn't know how you would make a job of that,
Oh, you just thought it couldn't make a living doing it.
I mean,
sure.
I wanted to find something that like could actually like be a living. And all I really knew was if I'm a writer, I'm going to be an English teacher.
Sure. Yeah. Right. And that sounds boring,
right. So I started by majoring in psychology,
Oh,
and that didn't last very long because I wasn't real fond of some of the classes and
I can
instructors
imagine.
and like some
Yeah,
of the content. So it was just
sure.
not really it was not my jam. And so I kind of pivoted and went into journalism.
Yeah,
And I thought that's a way to use my writing. And I went into broadcast journalism because I just thought it seemed exciting to like be able to create the stories, to create the video
yeah,
and the audio and all of that. So I went to broadcast journalism at SDSU, go Jackrabbits.
yeah.
And I graduated from college and went into TV. Worked at KTIV in Sioux
Yep,
City for 2 years, and then I went on to do marketing, where I was still able to use my writing. I did like newsletters and that sort of thing at Iowa Lakes
sure.
Electric in Esterville. And then after that, I decided when I was started having kids that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So I stayed at home with them. And then the writing, you get busy as a
Kind
parent
of
and
stopped a
it
little
kind of,
bit.
yeah, you just
Did you
kind of
do
lose.
as much like self-journaling at that point, or do you think you kind of went away from it
I
all the
kind
way?
of like really went
Really?
away from it,
A full
all of it.
reset.
Yeah, because yeah, like you said, I do journal, um, and it just kind of went away.
Hmm.
And I didn't have really any of that for quite some
New
time.
season of life.
New season of life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't think looking back on it, I wish I would have kept that because it is such a therapeutic thing to
Oh
be able
yeah.
to journal. And
Going
so,
through new stuff, your
right.
new kids,
Yeah.
going through all of the struggles with them, the ups and
Mm-hmm.
the downs, and like how you feel. Yeah, like get it out on paper, but you process it in a different way, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
as you and I were talking about before we started recording, it's like having those different methods
Mm-hmm.
are so powerful, even
Mm-hmm.
like prayer too.
Right. And yeah, and using those all together to be able to pray verbally or pray silently, but also to pray with a pen and to get those things out into a journal is just really therapeutic
Yeah,
and really can bring you closer to God because he speaks to me in some of that
yeah.
and I really hear his voice when I'm like just really journaling away.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, as a Catholic, what do you do anything for like spiritual direction through anybody else, or
I haven't.
okay,
I would love to search that out because right now, like, I do all of the things, spiritual practices on my own, but I feel like that would be like next level.
yeah,
And so that
oh
would be
yeah.
awesome.
I was just thinking because a lot of what you do is very um, individual based,
Right.
not being like selfish. I just mean
Hmm.
that it's in the self, and
Yes.
any of the direction you're pulling it from, say, Christ Himself, or when you're writing things down, when you're praying, when you're thinking,
Yep.
however you do that, but you're not getting that through someone else or
Right.
a priest, let's say.
Right. Yep. Not at this point. At this point, um, I draw from, of course, the Bible
Yeah.
and then any spiritual writings. I love to read the saints
Oh yeah.
and and even just doing Lectio Divina and that sort of thing, just to really kind of bring it all together.
Yeah, that latter really speaks to me because I've always been very imaginative, even
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger. And then a lot of kids like lose their imagination. They
Mm-hmm.
used to do all the games like, the floor is hot lava, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine doing that when you're like an adult, like
Right.
thinking imaginatively. Like, no, that's a drawer over there. That's a door, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to pretend that door opens up to Narnia when I'm an
Mm-hmm.
adult, right?
Right.
But like I've always just been extra imaginative, so like I do a lot of prayer in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it really speaks to me that way, and also with the journaling. So
Mm-hmm.
I always have very vivid dreams, like at
Mm-hmm.
night. So
Yeah, me too.
I actually do a dream journal. Have
Oh,
for like many years.
that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, because I've had ones. Not always. Sometimes they're like very, I don't know, secular. They don't always
Mm-hmm.
have spiritual meaning to
Yeah.
them, but a lot of times they have internal meaning. Like if I
Right.
have a nightmare that's common, like where I'm running,
Mm-hmm.
well, what am I running from?
Right.
You know, what is your brain processing
Mm-hmm.
when you're asleep, when you're
Mm-hmm.
subconscious, like, right? But I've had ones that are spiritual too, and I
Mm-hmm.
know it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you reflect on those, and as long as you write them down right away when you first wake up, you
Mm-hmm.
don't lose that, and you get those little snippets of, whoa, what was happening there? What was I being told, or had these connections? It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and you can sometimes then probably connect that to like in your prayer time,
Yes, of
something
course.
that God comes to you with as well.
Yep. I bring that, say, that journal
Mm-hmm.
of the journaling from my dream from,
Mm-hmm.
say, last night, and I reflect on that,
Yeah.
and I bring that to a new prayer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you do your journaling, is it all like old school, like actual pen and paper, or have you gone any of the new modern route where it's like through an app
Yeah.
or like on your tablet?
Okay, so to be completely honest, like I think there's a ton of apps that are just phenomenal, I'm
Yeah.
sure. However, I've tried a few and I still end up going back to the pen and paper because I just feel more of a connection that way.
You're using your motor skills at that
Mhm.
point. There's
Mhm.
a connection to the brain, to your fingers, I suppose. Yeah.
Mhm. And if I really need to be very organized about something, then I will get out my computer and try to do it that way, but I don't feel like I'm quite as creative
Yeah.
in that moment.
So I do use the app
Mhm.
thing. What Probably two reasons. One, I'm just of that generation and
Mhm.
I'm techie, and I like the phone app thing. I do that with a lot of stuff. But then the second thing is, like, with my job and with my lifestyle, I'm always mobile. I'm always
Mhm.
running
Oh, yeah.
around, and I usually don't have my computer anywhere near me, or I can't keep a journal, a pocket journal. If I had a little small one, it would get all
Mhm.
ripped up in my pocket
Right.
with all the stuff that I do on the farm.
Yeah.
Um, if I have a random thought in the middle of the day, I want to be able to jot it down.
Mhm.
What I probably should do is have like a hybrid where I'm doing both.
Mhm.
Like, I could have a hand drawn or handwritten journal at home when I take the time to do that.
Mhm.
But then again, I don't know. Am I going to replicate each entry, or am I
Mhm.
going to just have two different journals depending on what I'm talking about or thinking
Mhm.
about? I don't know.
Well, then that's the hard part because I have all these just random journals floating around and then I'm like, "Oh, what was it? What day was that?" And
Oh,
I was thinking about something and
you
I'm
didn't
like,
always put the date.
"Well, then I have to sort through. Like if it was in your phone, you can just type in a keyword search, and it's
Yes.
right there."
That's true. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you might have 50 some pages or
Yeah.
something of it.
Yeah.
And
So then flipping through, and I'm like, "Oh, maybe I should actually have that on something where I can actually search it."
yeah, yeah, maybe there's like ones that have tabs or something
Yeah.
like that for each week or month, but still you have to almost remember
Remember
when
when
it
it was.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, with otherwise it's a keyword search. So
Yeah.
there's pros and cons,
Yeah.
obviously.
Right.
As we were talking earlier, it's before we started recording, there's technology can be great, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of negatives too
Yeah.
with it. So all we can do is just try to utilize what we can, and
Yeah.
and hope that we're doing it in the right way,
Mhm.
and put it to prayer.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, hearing a podcast by Jeff Cavins,
Oh yeah.
and he was talking. I don't know if this is the exact way he talked about it, but I was pretty sure that he said something about, like, baptizing your phone, like, basically, like
Interesting.
like like, setting it apart for holy purpose.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was a great podcast because it really, like we talked about, you kinda have to have it. Like, you have to
Yeah.
have technology
In
in some
today's society, it's
format.
sort
Yeah.
of forced into our hands at this
Right.
point. Would I like to take a time machine and go back and just
Mhm.
have it never be invented?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But overall, it's probably a net negative. But where society is now, we kind of have to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can either use it for good or for holy purpose, or you can use it in bad ways,
In a
I
lot of bad
guess.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Interesting. Yeah, set it apart for
yeah.
holiness. Yeah,
Mhm.
interesting. I've heard of like guys that I know who have purposely got away from their iPhone
Mhm.
16 or whatever it is and gone to like a dummy phone,
Oh, yeah.
like gone back to like what it was 20 years ago or something
Mhm.
like that. Just the basics. And
Mhm.
I think they might even have a browser on it, but only just to have access to like a weather app or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything
basic.
else is closed off.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I like the idea of it. It's like, it speaks to me, but at the same time, it's like, I'm probably not going to do that, honestly.
No.
I just use too much of it throughout the day for business, for everything else.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot. And once we're this far in and we've used it this long, then it just becomes so much more part of our lives. And where we would have maybe used something else prior, like now it's just right there. And so we just use it that way.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, so pivoting back to kind of your writing then.
Yes.
So with the storyline, where were we at? So you went to college for journalism.
Yes.
You started the job and you were doing marketing. You were working with broadcasting. Then you became a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
And then how did this pivot into now?
Okay. So so basically I took several years off pretty much. I don't know.
You were raising a family.
I was raising a family. And, when your kids are little, you just are busy. And, so I was trying to do a photography business at the time.
Oh, okay.
And I was raising my kids. So then between the two of those things,
Did the photography start prior, or did you do it because you wanted, I hear about a lot of women saying like, oh, I was always a working mom, but then I became a stay-at-home mom and I was just too bored. So I wanted to do this side gig. Was it that, or had you already been doing photography?
Well, photography was another one of my great loves.
Okay.
And so I had taken photography classes in college, of course, with journalism, and kind of always loved that. And so it was just one of those things where I love to take pictures. So I'm like, oh, well, let's just create a business out of it.
Sure.
So I did that. Yeah. And did it for a few years. It was maybe just a way to kind of still feel like I was contributing and that sort of thing. And so I did that for a few years, was raising the kids. And then probably it was 20, let's see.
Was it COVID time frame?
Well, right before that, my father-in-law got sick.
Okay.
And he had brain cancer. And when he got brain cancer, I started journaling again because I just
processing
the feelings. Yeah.
Okay.
So I needed that. And so I started journaling again, and then ended up, when he died, I wrote a poem, and they ended up using it for the back of the funeral folder.
Oh.
And from then on, everybody was like, "Oh, you need to write more." And I was like, I love it. I do.
Yeah.
I love the writing, and I love the processing and all of that. And then I thought, it was a very spiritual poem. And so I thought, why can't I use this to give glory to God?
Yeah.
And to actually be able to, use some of these, thoughts and feelings and spirit-led, writings that I could actually share with people.
Of course.
And then maybe they would benefit from that, because I had so much feedback from people from that one poem of just how it really, it spoke to them. Yeah. So after that, I just thought, okay, maybe I'm just going to start just doing some writing again. So then I started doing a little bit more. Well, then it was in COVID where I just had kind of full stop. And I was like, what is going on?
Oh yeah, that's how we were.
The world has gone crazy.
Yes.
And it was just like it was actually a moment of, I wouldn't say anxiety, but it was a moment of just, what now? Where do we go from here? And God told me in that moment, you need to seek the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're spinning around with all of this stuff in your head because, you're not seeking me, you're not seeking the truth. And so that was when I decided I need to get back to reading the Bible. And I had never really gone through the Bible before.
Sure.
I mean, obviously in catechism you have,
Yeah.
and of course going to mass and stuff, you have
Oh yeah. Yeah.
a lot of,
We get through all of it
we
after a
get
few
through
years.
all of
A
it.
lot of
Yeah.
non-Catholics don't realize that, but we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much of it there. And,
Yes.
we even just had this discussion the other day, my husband and I where like every single part of the mass is biblical.
Yes.
And so it's
Yes, of
so
course.
rooted in that.
Yes.
So like even just, you'd listen to a homily, but you actually like listen to the mass or watch the mass if you can't make it or whatever. We were traveling, so we were watching mass on St. Mary's Mass on the iPad or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we were just visiting about how every word is like almost in the whole mass is biblical. And
Yes.
so anyway, so yes, you do get a lot of it by going to mass and, that and being raised in the catechism and that sort of thing. But for a long time, I hadn't really done much with that. And prior to that, I actually should rewind a little bit. A couple years before that, when my father-in-law got sick, I was invited to a Bible study.
Okay.
And so I did kind of like get my feet wet a little bit in that. Jamin Troutman, one of our parishioners,
Yep, I know.
She started a young mom's Bible study.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And she got us in there, and it was more of just it wasn't really reading the Bible. It was more of just guided, kind of question answer kind of things, and then
Would you
small
take
group discussion.
specific like passages and then reflect on them, or was it more of just like you open forum, like I have a question about this, let's talk about this?
No, it was actually through the I'm blanking on the name. It was Walking with Purpose.
Okay.
Which is a women's Bible study through the Catholic Church.
Okay.
And so there are several different books that either you read maybe a little bit during the week, and then you come together for like small group discussion and that sort of thing. So, I mean, it got kind of my feet wet in, oh, I'm interested in that a little bit again. And like, oh yeah, the Bible actually does have some, wisdom for these times in my life. And so then by 2020, though, when the world went crazy, and I decided where I needed to seek truth somewhere. That was where I went. And so the timing was perfect. Father Mike came out with Bible in a year, basically 2021.
Right in that time.
Yeah. And so I started doing that. And so then from there, I guess my writing kind of went more toward, reflections on the Bible and really focusing on the word and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And then I just started, I kind of started putting that stuff out there on social media and was able to kind of share that poetry and blogs and that sort of thing on social media.
How did your blog start? Was it just because you were reflecting on, say, as you were going through the Bible in a year, or were you reflecting on passages from Scripture, or was it just like things from life, random? I know right now it's a hodgepodge when I look at it, but what was it in the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning it was more just like I felt God like kind of nudging me to talk about a certain thing, and so I would just kind of reflect on that, and then kind of seek biblical wisdom throughout that to kind of prove a point, I guess.
Sure.
Kind of speaking into the culture.
Yeah, of course. And there was a lot to speak about during that time.
Yeah. So, and then, but I didn't want it to be my words, I wanted it to be God's words through me.
Yeah, of course.
And so, of course, trying to get that nice balance of using, his wisdom just through me on the page. So, so that's kind of where it started. And then I haven't done a lot of blogging recently, but because I've been kind of doing more podcasting.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where that's headed.
Gotcha. Now, from when I cheated a little bit and looked back at your first episode, it looked like that was about 2023 or so.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you decide in the storyline, like, okay, I've been writing, I actually want to do podcasting too? Was it just to try to get a different group of people, a different reach, or was it you have this private Facebook group, which anybody can check out. It's the Laura K. Beck writer, right? Is
Yep.
what it says. Yeah. Were people just giving you feedback and saying, hey, you should do a podcast? Was it like that? Or?
Well, personally, I listen to podcasts like all the time.
Okay.
I rarely listen to music. Like,
yeah, same.
my kids will like just shake their head at me because like I don't know any current like music or songs, or something comes up and I have no idea. I've never heard it before. Don't listen to music much at all.
Yeah.
So I listen to podcasts, and so I think it kind of went where. So I was sharing a lot of like biblical content online on Instagram and on Facebook.
Short videos.
Yeah, short videos, short form, mostly just Bible verses.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, where else can I get to people and focus a little bit, I guess, a little longer form.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
reels have to be short, otherwise you lose people.
Right.
Attention span. It's like click, click.
Yeah.
You know?
And there was just so much that I felt God leading me to share.
Yeah.
So actually in 2023, it started as I did 40 days for Lent, and I did 40 episodes for 40 days, and I basically just read Bible verses.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. It was like you took this passage, and it was fairly short episodes too.
Yeah. Some were like 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. And then really it was kind of like that for almost that whole year. 2024, you started the topic on, each episode would be more of something off the cuff, something you're reflecting on. And then actually this past year, 2025, is when you started going interview style, right? Which would be kind of more like what we do with Catholic Passage.
Yeah, right. I had gotten to the point where, I mean, I listen to both. I listen to interview podcasts, but I also listen to just a person talking, single person podcasts as well. One of my sons was like, you should really like interview people because like, that kind of brings two perspectives and like, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. And so I thought, okay, so I'm going to try to do this.
Yeah.
And, it's like starting something new. It's like, where do you even start?
Oh, yeah.
So I started it thinking, okay, maybe I'll just do like one a month. Well, I had so much fun doing like the first couple that I was like, I want to do this every week.
Yeah, like, this is the thing.
This is the thing. This is what I'm loving to do. And and I felt like God was really using it too, because like just these guests that I've been able to have on have just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And just like I've learned so much, and I'm hoping like whoever listens is learning so much as well. And so, it's kind of like evolved. And I'm not saying that like I won't at some point maybe do some single episodes again, at some point. But for now, I'm just really loving that like he's able to work this through this podcast. And so, And so I haven't been doing as much like writing per se, because I've been doing more, writing for the podcasts and stuff. But I'm going to take a break for Lent for the podcast. And so I'm going to like try and really focus on my writing at that point.
That'd be good. Yeah. And then you'll probably, I don't know, a lot of people will give up like social media and stuff for Lent, but they might still read a blog or get your email newsletter. That's the other thing I didn't mention yet. So I didn't sign up. I haven't signed up yet, but what do you do with that? What's different about your newsletter versus a blog then?
The email newsletter started out as just something where just to really connect with people and like let them know what's going on.
Okay.
It's been on hiatus for a little bit.
Okay.
Got busy with other things, and haven't had a new email for a while. But but the idea is, and sometimes I'll take like a blog idea and kind of just intertwine it. In with that, and just a little deeper level.
Sure. Cool. I'm just a question here as a content creator to content creator, if you will. How did it kind of start off with when you were first starting off with, say, a Facebook page or an Instagram page, and you're like, okay, I know you didn't have YouTube at first, because I see that's more recently with the podcast. How did it get to be where all of a sudden now you have like 11,000 some followers,
Right. So on both Instagram and Facebook, I was just really consistent with doing these Bible verse videos
Very regular.
very regularly.
And they did just get shared organically, you think? Or were you having to push out a lot of marketing then?
No, I did not do any marketing. The crazy thing is that it's a God thing. I, for a while, was doing these videos and I was like, God, I just don't know if this, in my prayer time, I said, I just don't know if this is what you still want me to do. Like,
Sure. Is this the right thing?
Yeah, because sometimes it's like you feel like you're just pumping out content. And I'm like, what am I really doing here? And of course it's God's word. So it's like the best thing ever. But I was like, is anybody really seeing this? And is anybody really benefiting from this? Like, I think I just had that doubt moment, that we all have. We all have that as
I've been there too.
creators.
It's because when you first start off, and we're kind of still there with Catholic Passage, a much smaller following right now. You look at it and you're like, okay, we're putting a lot of work into, say, a Lenten series where we get people involved with these video things. It's a lot of work. And then we all got our day jobs too. I mean, I got a lot of hours I put in a week as a farmer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it even worth it? Yes, it's a good thing. We believe it's good ministry and all this stuff.
Right.
And I'm just doing it voluntarily. But is the amount of people, it's just the same 3-5 people that are seeing it? It's more than that. But is it worth it? Is this what you want me to do? And I've always gotten the feeling, yes, it's still important.
Right.
Because of that ripple effect.
Right. And you don't know who you're reaching.
Exactly.
And you probably are reaching somebody that you will never find that out. But
exactly.
But you are, touching somebody in some way. So this at that point when I felt like, should I even be doing this anymore? God showed up, and the next video I made, just another random Bible verse video, got like 100,000 views.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, oh,
okay,
I get
okay, God, you're saying this is important. You're reaching people.
Yes. Yeah. So I kept going, obviously, because that showed me that it was really important to him. And so I obedience is tricky because I have fallen off on that for a little bit as well. So I need to get back into doing that. But he has just shown me that, and I'll get a comment here or a comment there, or even see somebody in person and they'll be like, oh, I just love to see your daily Bible verses, like this one really spoke to me. It's like exactly what I needed on that day or whatever, and that's the way God works, is he gives us what we need when we need it. So
how often is it when you get those? Have you ever seen it? And a lot of times I see it in print, like in writing. It's like a little flip book thing. My wife has one right above our kitchen sink. So it's the first thing you're doing when you're doing dishes in the morning, or you just slip it to the next day.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got like the daily Bible verse and like a little short reflection there. And it's like, oh my, like, yes, that hit hard. How did they know this would hit me for this day?
Exactly.
Because they didn't. It's a God thing, And it's just amazing. Or you do the classic where you just put your thumb in the middle of a Bible and you just flip it open and you're like, okay, read a verse. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that a lot with Bible in a year because I was off on days because I was a little behind.
Sure.
And I would listen and whatever it was in that reading for the day, I was like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And
it was meant to be that you were behind.
It was meant to be that I was behind. So then it made me feel a little better that I was behind.
That's right.
But yeah, it's just, he meets you where you are, no matter what. So
exactly. Yeah. Well, so how do you feel like the difference between being here in this area as a content creator, but you're in a small town rural area?
Right.
Like, do you think that makes it harder to reach people, or do you think the whole thing with social media and the internet kind of eliminates that?
It is sort of a double-edged sword in
Yeah.
a sense.
There's less people around here
There's
to
less people
organically know it, but in
right.
theory, the whole internet is wide,
Yes.
but there's
I
got to be some truth to it.
yes, there is. And I think that is a great opportunity to be able to share all of this on social
Yeah.
media because we would never be able to reach all those people had it not been
Otherwise,
for social media.
yeah.
However, I know that I listened to I think it was actually Father Mike was doing a podcast and he was talking about um where would you for people who are speakers and who are like, visible to
Public
thousands
figures.
and public figures and you're out in these arenas and you're speaking to 10,000 people at a time. Yes, you're reaching all those people, but are you actually reaching the person next to you? Like,
Yeah.
are you actually reaching out to somebody down the pew from you in
Yeah.
church?
And maybe they're the ones that actually need it the most.
Right. Yeah. So I've been trying to be a little more intentional about, yes, I want to continue this part of it because I do feel like it's beneficial and I feel like God's allowing me to reach people that way.
Yeah.
However, I've been trying to be more intentional in my own like personal life of like seeking out the need and like
Yeah.
actually trying to find people to minister to in my personal life as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because like I said too, you don't know the person that needs it the most. And
Right.
they might not even be the person
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be paying to go to some event.
Right.
Or they might not be going to student role. They might not even be at mass, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be in the daily walks of life at the I don't know, grocery store or
Mm-hmm.
something. It's through those small little things that might have a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we can do is just try our best to
Yeah.
live our life that way.
Yeah. I know a lady I was talking to about, she was at one of the young adult events at the
Okay.
church. And she was talking about the last one was talking about discipleship
Yep.
and how just even, reaching out to people, to disciple them just in your everyday lives and like the cashier at the grocery store, like you said, maybe isn't going to be in any church,
Yeah.
but
You don't
if
know.
you can witness to that person, then it's just hugely beneficial.
Yeah, and where's the line? I've always struggled. Like, I feel like called to be like an evangelist,
Mhm.
in a lot of ways. I always have been. I've always really believed in that. But
Mhm.
there's also that like line, like do you go out and you're like, I don't know, the classic Bible thumper kind of thing,
Yeah.
like where you're literally on a corner of a street and
Mhm.
you're literally loudly with a mic preaching out of a Bible. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think so, but like, are you turning people away? Are you going to
Mhm.
do that with the cashier? Are you going to like say, hey, I'm going to hand you this rosary and I want to talk to you about this? And she's like, okay, come on, let's move it.
Mhm.
Are you actually, could there have been a really positive thing where she says that and then she
Mhm.
still puts it in her pocket and
Mhm.
then looks into it later? Maybe.
Mhm.
But then there's also like, what if you turn them off so poorly on something that it ends up being a negative and
Mhm.
you don't know?
Yeah, and that's a very, very hard question
Yeah.
because I go back to the interview I did with Father Paul Kelly, and he said it has to be about relationship.
Yeah.
And so, like, you get to a point where you have to, I say the cashier, but like until you like have a relationship with that person, like they're not picking up what you're dropping down,
No,
at all,
no.
like at all. So
And it might come off
a
pretty
little
poorly.
right, right.
Yeah.
So you have to, just build relationships organically to be
Yeah.
able to get into a position where you can even share those kind of things. But, in this day and age where we're so busy and so distracted, like it's getting harder and harder to do that. You
Yeah.
have to be like more and more intentional about actually doing that because, you know, you see 10 people in line at the grocery store at the checkout.
Most people are on their phone though.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 are probably on their phone.
And if you turn like to the guy behind you and say, hey, like you try to like start off the small talk, whatever, they just kind of look at you like,
Yeah.
yep, and then back to the phone.
Yeah. So it's a real issue where we're so closed off from everybody anymore that I don't know. I mean, it has to be such an intentional thing to be able to like find those instances where there might be way fewer instances as there was probably 20 years ago.
There is. I think there's fewer instances and maybe even fewer opportunities, but it's that much more important that you take advantage
those
of them.
advantage.
And
Yeah.
you'll have a feeling in there where it's like, could I do this or could I do that? Let's choose the God way.
Right.
Like, okay, so an example I have that's, so recently my wife and I went on a little trip where we were on a plane, right? And so she was tired. She had the window seat, so she snoozed out. I had the middle seat, and the lady right next to me, this older lady, I was getting my stuff out to put on my headphones. I was going to start listening to a podcast or an audiobook, right? And I was looking forward to starting the new book, actually. I think it's a C.S. Lewis one I was going to do. And then all of a sudden, I'm like unzipping the case to get my headphones out. And I think I even have them in my hand, and I'm about to turn them on. And then she turns to me and she starts like trying to do small talk. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do a little small talk with you. Sure, why not? And then I thought it was going to kind of end somewhere in there. And then eventually she would take a nap or I would listen to my book or whatever. It was a 5.5-hour flight. We talked the entire time. Every time the lady walked by with like juice or water or something, I needed that water. It wasn't just to get a free Sprite, cup. Like I was parched. I was like,
because I can't talk anymore.
Yeah, it's like you were talking like you got your big water thing. I needed that. I was like, I didn't bring the water bottle. I needed it though, because I usually don't drink during an airplane because I don't want to have to go to the bathroom back there. But I was talking the whole time. The lady ended up being Catholic as well.
Wow.
And I was able to kind of minister to her a little bit because she had been kind of not going as regularly. And she had some different doubts or feelings. The classic thing is because of, feelings towards the certain priest or whatever, right? And I kind of pushed back at some point because I had built a relationship at this point. It was like an hour or two in, right? So I could actually feel comfortable to say these things,
You're
right?
buddies then.
Yeah, we're buddies. Yeah. Yeah, we're like nudging shoulders and everything, and literally. And I said, you do know that when you watch the Mass on your TV or on your phone, that's good. It's better than nothing. You're getting scripture that way, and you have maybe a sense of prayer there and a community because you can feel like you're kind of one with the people that are there. But you do know you're not getting the Eucharist, right? And she's like, yeah, I know. But I'm like, do you really know? And then we started talking about like the whole like post-Vatican II stuff, because with her age, she'd mostly been raised right in that time frame. And you see a lot of people of her age that weren't properly catechized. And do they truly believe that when it's being held up there, that is the true presence? Because, as I pushed back on her a little bit, I'm like, you do realize that we should be going to daily Mass if we could. We should be crawling on our hands and knees to get to Christ in that way, if we truly believe that is him.
Right.
And she was just silent for a little bit. And, and she's like, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right, Aaron. And, I got to her, and so she and she said, hey, she was going the same place as I was on the trip. And I said, hey, so are you going to be going to Mass? And she's like, well, I usually don't go to Mass when I'm traveling. And I'm like, that's part of going to a new place is trying a new parish, even if it's in another country. That's fun. You can see the architecture. You can, even if it's in Spanish, it's still the same Mass, right? It's still the same Mass. And so I made her give me her cell phone number so that, because it worked in the other country, she had it set up. And I texted her when we were all going to go to Mass, and so that way we could share a cab and go there, because I'm like, this is important, and she thanked me about that.
Oh, awesome.
So it's that connection that I could have just said, yeah, yep, I'm doing this, whatever, small, yep, the weather, and then kind of put on my headphones as a sign that I'm going to just go into myself, not take that opportunity.
Yeah.
But because of that, maybe I made a ripple effect there.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff Cavins has talked about that too before, of just taking those opportunities.
Yeah. And, it would have been easier for you to just put your headphones on and do that. But the impact that you had, and I think that's kind of why a lot of people don't, a lot of times why I don't, where I see an opportunity and I'm just like, do I really want to get into this conversation? Do I really want to go through all of this? But, you think about you know, nothing about this is easy,
No.
but so worth it. I mean, i- you have to just get past that and be
Mm-hmm.
able to do the hard,
Yeah.
because that's when the change really happens.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about that discipleship talk that
Mm-hmm.
was at the young adult thing. It was actually, again, it was Father Brian Feller,
True.
who's chaplain for this organization, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about discipleship
Yep.
and the 5 Ds that we have on the Catholic Passage website, actually. But none of those are easy.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing said has ever been described as, yeah, this is the easy way.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's, and Jesus didn't say that either.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this yellow brick road like with Dorothy, and it's like, this is the obvious way. It's not necessarily even obvious.
No.
It's not a neon sign pointing to the right.
Right.
That's where discernment comes in. That's where a strong prayer life comes in.
Yeah.
I want to pivot back to what you said about relationality,
Mm-hmm.
about how it's very relational.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do we have to have that relationship with people on this earth, I think we have to first have that relationship built with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we can then have better relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
How can we expect to have a great relationship with our kids, with our spouse, with the stranger cashier, especially when it's someone that's annoying us a little bit, or have a frustration, when that's how we're treating Christ?
Right. Yeah, that's so true, because the closer you are with Christ, the more he can, work through you as well.
Yeah.
And, y- you know, I've lived it both ways, where I've had times in my life where I haven't been dependent on Christ, and I've lived it where I have. And both are hard, but Christ gives you the power to be able to live anything, just so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it takes me back to where the Bible verse, that you yoke yourself to Christ.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I can't do this discipleship on my own. I can't go up to people. Who am I to go up to people? But with Christ in me, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people are missing out. They're like trying to do it all on their power,
Yep. I can do it myself.
Yeah. And if you're not comfortable doing that, nobody really is. Is anybody really comfortable with
My brother is.
Oh.
He goes up to random strangers.
He has a gift.
It's extrovert on steroids kind of thing. It's like it's eccentric that way. But no, most people
don't,
because they have that fear of the unknown.
Right.
We all do. The fear of, even in a short-term level, like, what are they going to say? How are they going to react to me? How am I going to be perceived? We care. It's the small version of vanity, right? I mean, there's levels of that, but it's a smallest version of vanity where we care what other people think when we will talk to them.
Right.
What if they're off put if I say something, if I try to make that connection and bring faith into it?
Right.
It's like, oh, don't talk about faith in politics, right? Well, why not? Why don't we bring that? Why don't we try to bring everyone to a sense of community and bring them to faith? Why don't we want to strengthen that?
Yeah. Well, and you, in that moment, she could have turned away and not, you said another word.
Once I brought up faith.
It could have made her really mad.
Yeah.
Yes. But you were obedient in the fact that you were doing that. You felt like you needed to talk to her about that, and you did, and look at where it went. That's.
But I had that feeling, I had that feeling like, oh, this is going to be like one of those Jeff Cavins on a plane moments.
Yeah.
Because he's talked about that on a podcast,
Yes,
how he ends up talking to the person next to him for a 12-hour flight or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite that long, but it's like, this is my moment. Okay, this is my time. And then at that point, I put down, I zipped it back up and I put it in there. I'm like, I know I'm going to be talking to her this whole flight, aren't I?
Yeah.
Another water, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's beautiful, because I too have had those Jeff Cavins moments where I've listened to something he said in a podcast and tried to put it into practice in my life. And he's, he's big into discipleship. And,
yes, exactly.
So it's good to learn from people who are able to teach that as well.
So an interesting little side tangent then too. Do you think part of the reason why Jeff Cavins is so big on discipleship is because he has that evangelical, Protestant side of him, where he came from.
Right.
You know, I mean, he was literally
Mhm.
a Protestant pastor for a while, and then he came back to the Catholic faith.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One thing you got to say about our Protestant brothers and sisters, that they are very good about
Mhm.
bringing people in.
Yeah.
That's something that my wife and I always talk about, and she's DRE actually for our Lakes Catholic community, actually, if you know
Mhm.
that. And she and I have talked about this. It's like, okay, we can give and take a little bit.
Mhm.
We're not going to ever pivot and move who we are as
Mhm.
Catholic, as the Catholic faith. So we've stood solid for
Mhm.
all these many, many, many years and
Mhm.
generations because we are rooted in
Mhm.
tradition
Right.
and what we believe, right? And a lot of these Protestant faiths, they splinter off, right?
Mhm.
Because they want to appease a certain belief or
Mhm.
make everyone happy. And you can't make everyone
Right.
happy. And we're going to just go off and we're going to start our own church. Well,
Mhm.
you're splintering that. You're splintering your strength.
Yeah.
We are strength, not in the same numbers as we used to be,
Mhm.
unfortunately, but we still have that rock solid base
Right.
in Christ.
Yeah.
And um, from that, I think that we could look to the Protestants and gain some sort of benefits with that aren't going to change anything. But
Mhm.
things like, what do they do really well?
Yeah.
Well, like their community side of their parishes or their church communities are very good.
Mhm.
You know, very strong.
Yeah.
They do a lot of times it's more than just the donuts after church.
Mhm.
And I've noticed at our parishes, a lot of times, even if there are donuts and coffee after church, a lot of times it's not that many people that go.
Mhm.
It's the same group of older people
Mhm.
that it's their time to to have that community, but they
Mhm.
also are part of the generation that I think they grew up with more of that.
Yeah.
They valued the slow,
Mhm.
taking the time, and they're not being rushed on Sunday.
Mhm.
People of your age, my age, and even younger, um, we're on to the next thing.
Mhm.
The season of rush. It's always rushing. It's like
Mhm.
it's so hard for us to slow down and just relax
Mhm.
and enjoy that time, you
Yeah.
know?
I'm glad that, it's always good to see the Catholic Church bringing in, different opportunities for community, like this young adults
Yes,
group.
exactly.
Uh, also, I was able to take advantage of Father Heeman's spiritual gifts
Yeah, that was really good.
classes, and then I haven't been able to come to a prayer hour, but just things like that where you're able to kind of like draw more people in.
Mhm.
You know, the Lenten fish fries, like, bringing people in from
Yeah.
other like, it's open to everybody, so able to bring more welcoming to other
Yes,
people,
exactly.
where I totally get what you're saying because you don't want to dilute what our Catholic mass is and our Catholic
Yeah.
church is at
Can't
all.
change that. But what
Can't
happens in the overflow room, like
Right.
at St. Joseph, where it's a big room there and
Yeah.
we all gather, that isn't the mass.
Mhm.
That's a time to bring in everybody
Yeah.
else. And a lot of times for our big Harvest Festival meal,
Mhm.
a lot of times that actually does bring in a lot of people that aren't churchgoers at
Right.
all
Yep.
or aren't even Catholic. They bring them in, and that's important. I think that
Mhm.
it's good to have that welcoming nature at both of our parishes, everywhere,
Yeah.
where, no matter where you are. Because ultimately, that's those opportunities to ultimately bring them to the
Mhm.
faith.
Yeah, because from our Protestant brothers and sisters, we can learn some of those welcoming things, and then you get them there and, you get to the Catholic faith and, the Eucharist keeps them there.
Yes. Yes,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah, that's
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 the
the
idea.
idea. I think a lot of it's knowledge though too, and that's
Mhm.
why things even like a podcast like this where,
Mhm.
if someone isn't searching it out themselves,
Mhm.
they might find it kinda organically just from
Right.
something being shared on social media, or they stumble across something,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, that's interesting." So I have a buddy of mine who is very, very, very faithful Christian, not Catholic.
Mhm.
But I've gone him to where now he sent me a screenshot of like on Spotify, it shows you your like most listened to
Mhm.
like music or podcasts from
Yep.
like last year. In his like in his top three, I don't remember which order it was, but he had one where it was like it was something about it wasn't Catholic stuff you should know. It was like basically it's a Protestant guy talking about no, it's two guys. It's like a Catholic and a Protestant, and they're talking
Oh.
about. It's kind of interesting.
Mhm.
I need to look into it actually. They're talking about the differences and basically questions and answers.
Oh, sure.
And so he's questioning things. He's
Yes.
interested in things. That's the first step,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can really foster that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Right.
And so I've really been excited to see how, for instance, he didn't know that I was talking about the information thing.
Mm-hmm.
He had never heard of the Eucharistic miracles.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not a Catholic. I wouldn't necessarily have expected him
Yeah.
to, unless he's searching that out. But
Right.
if he didn't know it existed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by way he was raised, he doesn't necessarily believe that the Eucharist is a true presence,
Right.
right? It's just symbolic, right? Well, I've been talking to him about those things and trying to push him, and I'm like, yeah, look into these things. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of information out now, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's been atheists converted because of it, you
Yeah.
know. And so,
Amazing.
as he's looked into that stuff, he's like, wow, this is so interesting. And he's not converting yet, but
Mm-hmm.
he finds this stuff interesting. That's the first step,
Right.
you know. And what that might be, the person that's the cashier at your store could be
Mm-hmm.
that next person, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, are you going to take that opportunity to be a disciple there?
Right.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, what's like the next step for you, do you think, in your journey as a writer? Like, do you think I mean, you're saying you want to get back to the blog a little bit this Lent, or you have anything
Mm-hmm.
specific in mind, or?
Well, I have a lot of ideas in my head that I'd really just like to put to paper.
Okay.
Just things that God has kind of put on my heart. But I also feel like I could, if I could get into a routine, I I have some ideas, some book ideas I would like to eventually flush out.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so eventually maybe if I can, get back into the habit of writing on a daily
Maybe
basis,
write a book even.
yeah, I would
Okay.
love that.
Do you or maybe you don't want to talk about it. Do you have a certain, like, is there a topic that really speaks to you, or is this all hush hush right now?
Well, the dream I've had, I haven't really talked to anybody about it, but I don't see why I can't. The dream I've kind of had is just kind of like wisdom I've learned, like takeaways that God has shared with me. And just, I don't know if it's more of just like a kind of an open journal kind of thing where I just share insights of what God has shared in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cause I feel like, in through journaling, I have just all of these things that like these aha moments that I've, had along the way.
Yeah.
And I feel like, if not to publish, like even just to put in a book at some point, just to
Yeah.
have,
Like a collection of them.
yeah, a collection of just it
Moments.
sounds random.
It's like a collection
A
of all these
collection
moments.
of random things that
It's like a scrapbook, you
Yeah,
know, in a
almost,
sense. It's
yeah.
kind of like a scrapbook, shows all these different moments that have gone through your life, and these thoughts putting to paper, but it's just not a bunch of pictures.
Mhm.
It's these words,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that so Father Heeman, actually,
Mhm.
he wrote a book basically on, in that same vein,
Mhm.
with a
Oh,
bunch
yeah.
of just random thoughts, really, and experiences,
Yeah.
and a lot different miracles that he's seen
Oh,
through
sure.
his
Yeah, I
life.
knew you
He's
had
he's
talked
had a lot
about.
of connections with
Mhm.
that. Yeah.
That's cool.
So he's been working with a publisher
Oh, that's
to get
awesome.
that working. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that would speak to a lot of people,
Mhm.
because I'm assuming a lot of these different aha moments, or these moments in time throughout your life, I mean, I'm sure a lot of them can be relatable, right?
I would think so. I mean, just, either it's a reflection on scripture or it's just something where God has shown me how things work together in his word and that sort of thing. So it's, yeah, I would think that a lot of people would be able to relate to that. Just because, God's word is alive and for everybody, it's like something that everybody needs and everybody can draw from.
Yeah.
And, so if it's based in that, like I would think that anybody would be able to get anything out of it.
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, besides continuing in that route
Yep.
and writing a book may be exciting, like, is there anything else that you see for this next year that you want for your next steps as
Sure.
a writer or as a content creator rather
Yeah,
too?
right. Like I said before, I'm going to take a little break for Lent from podcasting,
Yep.
to really dive back into my writing. I am planning on, though, doing a live rosary every day
Okay.
for every day of Lent
Cool.
on Instagram.
Okay.
And so, um, yeah, I I have incorporated the rosary into my life and have found such huge benefits from that. So I would like to be able to get more people in the habit of doing a daily rosary.
Oh, absolutely. We
Yeah.
all need to do better about that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what, if I can take a little break from podcasting, I think I'll focus my energies on that and on my writing. And then back after Lent, I think I'll still record episodes for, the podcast during Lent and then maybe release them once Lent is over. And then from there on out, I think just really trying to, kind of put more blog posts out and
Sure.
really, I'd like to do a little more scripture reflection, in those blog posts and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hmm.
Well, so speaking of, so Instagram,
Yeah.
I guess if we're
Hmm.
kind of closing, wrapping up here,
Right.
how would a listener or a viewer want to, if they want to seek you out, how are they going to find you?
Sure.
You have, what are your socials?
Yes. I have, I am Laura K. Beck, Laura K, just the letter K, Beck, on Instagram, and Laura K. Beck Writer
Writer.
on Facebook. I
You have
am,
a website?
I have, yes, laurakbeck.com. And then I am on YouTube. I don't know what the handle is
I
for
think
that.
it's Laura K. Beck.
Okay.
Yeah, because I searched Laura Beck at first and I didn't find you, but when I
Yes.
put K in there, then I
Okay.
found you. Yep.
Well, there you go. And then, yeah, that's about it. I think that's all the places.
All right. So thanks so much again for joining me on the Catholic Passage podcast, and hope all the listeners and viewers out there can check her blog out and subscribe to your email newsletter and look forward to that book upcoming someday.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.